In Chapter 2, you'll be writing your first Python program. So what I'd like to do is start off by showing you how to get Python installed, and then moving on to how to create a Python program, save it, run it, make sure that everything's working fine, and then upload it into Moodle for grading. So let's get started. First thing you need to know before you can install Python is whether your computer is 32-bit or 64-bit. And this is really easy to do. I've included a link here for you, so if you will click on the link, this is going to take you out to Microsoft, and Microsoft has a page out here that will show you whether your system is 32-bit or 64-bit. In fact, there's an area right here where it's going to automatically detect. So I can see that my system is 32-bit, or if you want to go through and manually figure out, they do have the instructions included here depending on which version of Windows you are running. I'm going to close this. I know I need 32-bit. Come back to the Chapter 2 Programming Exercise 1 for Python, and if I scroll down a little bit, I will see the Python download link. Let's go ahead and click this. And this takes me to the Python website. So I'm going to www.python.org/download. Now, if you wanted to do this yourself, you could just type in python.org and then come over here to the left and click on the download link, and that will bring you to this page. Now, you will see that we have the various versions right here. We're going to do 3.3.2, and even within that version, there are different ways that you can install it. Here's where I talked about the two different Windows versions. Here's the 64-bit. I do not want this one since my computer is 32-bit. I'm going to choose the first one. There are also versions here for Mac, so if you do happen to have a Mac, you could do this. Now just be aware that Raptor does not run on Mac, so if you're going to try to do that, you would have to run Parallels or something that would allow you to run Windows software. But at least for Python, Python would be able to run. If you do run into that problem with a Mac, we do have PCs in each of the South Piedmont libraries, and they have both Raptor and Python installed for your use. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with this. I'm going to click on the first link, which is the Windows, and this is going to be my 32-bit version. And we are going to download or run it. I'm going to go ahead and click on Save, and I'm doing this from Internet Explorer. Depending on which browser you're using, this is going to look a little bit different, but basically you're downloading the file and then we're going to run it. So I'm going to save the file, and it's going to go ahead and bring it into my downloads, and then I want to view my downloads, and here's the file. So now I can go ahead and double click on it, and it's running the security scan, so it's going to take a little bit to start here. Okay. I'm going to click on Run, and it's going to start up the installation for me. Now we're pretty much going to go through and just accept whatever the defaults are. So I'm going to click on Next, and now this is going to ask where do I want to install it. It's going to by default be installed on your hard disk in the Python 33 folder, and as long as that's fine with you, I would go ahead and just accept that and move on, but you can change it if you like. Okay, now I already had some files here because I had tried this installation once before, so I'm going to overwrite. You will not see that prompt, and move on. Okay, now at this step, you'll see that it's going to show you what's going to be installed, and it's going to install everything except down here where this X is. It says add python.exe to path. What adding this Python exe to the path will allow you to do is if you double click on a Python program file, it will automatically run it for you. So if you want to have that option, you can go ahead and click on this, and we want to go ahead and install it on the local hard drive, and click Next. And now it's going to run through doing the installation. Now, because it does take a few minutes, I actually paused making the video here, so this is going to take you longer than what you've just seen. But you will come to where you see the Complete the Python 332 Installer dialog box will pop up, and we're going to click Finish. Okay, and I'm going to close my Downloads folder, and I no longer need my web page for downloading and installing, so I'm going to close that. And now if I want to find where I have installed Python on my computer, I'm going to click on the Start button, go to All Programs, And now with all programs, I'm going to scroll down a little bit until I see Python 3.3. Clicking on this is going to show me that I have something called idle, and this is what we're going to be using. It's the Python GUI, or graphical user interface. There are also documents, which is documentation, the command line, manuals, and then you can uninstall Python. So at the end of this class, if you decide you don't want to use Python anymore, you can uninstall it. What I'd like to do is pin this so that I don't have to dig down through into all programs each time. So I'm going to right-click up here on my Python idle because this is what I want to use most of the time in this class. So I will right-click, and you can choose. You can either pin it to your taskbar, which will pin it down here at the bottom of your screen in Windows, or you can pin it to your Start menu, and I'm just going to pin it onto my Start menu. So now that I have it pinned, if I click on my Start button, now I'm going to see that I have Python listed right here. So it's going to be very easy for me to get back to. Let's go ahead and start idle, and I'm going to just click. Okay. And this is what idle is going to look like when it comes up. You get the Python 3.3.2 shell. And this is going to be interactive. So if I do something like type in print and then hello world, if I could type today. And you'll notice that this is a text string, it's a literal, so I'm going to put the double quotes around it, or remember from reading your text, I could also have used single quotes. Either one is going to work, and I'm using the print command, going to press enter, and it's going to automatically execute this, and it comes back and gives me the results, hello world. Do you remember when you're working in Python that it is case sensitive? So if I try something like print hello world, okay, and notice the difference this time. See how I used a capital P in print? When I press enter, I'm going to get an error because that capital P, that's looking for a different command that's not actually in Python. The print command is a lowercase p at the beginning, and that's what's going to work for you. So always be careful to look at uppercase, lowercase when you're working in Python. Okay, so this is the shell, and you can come in here and test things out. So if you want to test a statement and see how it's going to work, you can just type things in here, press enter, and it's going to execute it. What we're going to be doing is creating programs that you're going to be able to save, run them, test them out, and then when you're finished, you're going to upload them to Moodle for me to see for grading. To do that, you're going to have to go into the editor. So we're going to click on File, and then New Window, and this is going to open up an editor window for you. So within this is where I'm going to come in, and I'm going to actually write my Python code that's going to be an entire program. Now when you do your Python code, I want you to come back here and look at the assignment in Moodle. What I'm going to ask you to do is to always comment what you're doing. Comments are very important. Depending on where you work, there are going to be different standards for the commenting that you do, but it's always good to identify what this program is all about, what variables are being used, who wrote it, what's it called, what's the purpose of it. So this is what we're going to use for a standard for our class. We're going to put in your name, the chapter and the assignment number, the semester, and then a description. So let me go ahead and go back to my editor, and I'm going to just move this over so that I can see what I need to put in for comments. And you may remember from reading the chapter that if you put a pound sign in, that's going to put a comment in. And this is just a line of code that Python is going to ignore because it's not executable. So I put in the pound sign, and you'll notice I've added a space. I could just put my text right up next to the pound sign, but it's more readable if I include some spacing. So pound sign, and I'm going to type my name, press enter, and then the next thing we're to put is the chapter in the assignment. So this is chapter 2, and this is just an example that I'm doing. But you would say chapter 2, exercise 2, or exercise 7, or whatever it is. Okay. And next we're to put the semester. This is fall 2013, or whatever the appropriate semester is. And a description, I'm just going to do, this is a sample program to display some text. Now I'm going to press enter and press enter again, and this is not something that is required by Python, but I would like to see you start doing this to add blank lines between sections of your code to make it readable. So I'm putting a blank line in, and then I'm going to start my code. And I'm going to print, and I'm going to print out some text, and this time I'll use the single quotes. And we're going to be real creative here. This is some text. Okay. And you will see that there are different colors that are used as you're working within the editor. So comments are going to be red, your commands are going to be purple. You saw the text as I was typing it in was green. Now it's changed to gray for the function what the function is working on. So watch that. It's also going to do some indentation for you for different commands that we use. So I am now finished with this. So what I can do is run it, but Python is going to want you to save it first. So I'm just going to go ahead and save it before it warns me about that. So I'm going to click on File, and I am going to do either Save or Save As would work. Save As is going to give you the dialog box. Because we haven't saved this already, it's also going to give us a dialog box. So I'm going to go in and save this. It's going to by default save into your Python 33 folder. What I've done is I've actually created another folder in here called My Programs. And you can create a new folder just by clicking on this little button up here and then typing in whatever you want for the folder name. So I'm going to choose My Programs as where I want to save this. And you'll see I already have some things in here I've been playing around with. So I'll call this my Chapter 2 example. You will see that these all end with .py. That's what identifies a file as containing Python code. Now here with the file name Chapter 2 example, I did not type in .py, but if I save, and then I come back here and try open, you'll see that it did automatically, here's my Chapter 2 example file, it did automatically add the py for me. So that's not something you have to remember, it will be done for you. Okay. So now I have saved my file. I want to go ahead and test it, make sure it's working. So I will click on Run, and I want to run module, or you can see that you can just press the F5. The keys that go across the top of your keyboard, you can just press the F5 key and this will also do this. So F5, and it takes me back to my shell. It says restart to show you the start of the execution, and here's where it displayed this is some text. So I've just gone into the shell, I created a file, saved that file, tested the file to make sure it's running okay. So now what I have left to do is I need to upload this into Moodle for submission. So I can close out the shell and I can close out the editor window. I'm back here in Moodle in my assignment. If I scroll down to the bottom, I do want you to see that you have a rubric down here. This is what I'm going to be using for grading. So it's a good idea to look at it to see the kinds of things that I'm going to be looking for. So the first one is taking a look at what were the requirements for this program and how closely did you meet those requirements. Next, technical accuracy. Does it run or does it have errors? Efficiency. You know, there's good code and there's bad code as far as how efficiently it works. If your code is efficient, you're going to get more points here than if you take another way of trying to solve something, but your method of solving it is not very efficient. You know, then you're going to lose points for this. The user interface. Now this one really doesn't have much of a user interface. It does output some text, but you know, when you're creating prompts, are the prompts understandable? Are they using upper and lower case? Do they look professional? Those are the types of things I'll look for here. Maintainability is looking at things like your documentation, using that spacing that I talked about so that your code is readable. So that's another thing that I'll be looking for. Now when you get down to the very bottom, you'll see an Add Submission button. So we will click on Add Submission. And now if I scroll back down, I have an area here where I can add files. So if you have a window open that has your file in it, you can drag and drop over onto here. I'm just going to click the Add button up here and go and find my file. And my file was on my hard drive. So if I come down here to Computer, it was on C, and it was in Python 33. And within Python 33, it was My Programs is where I'm saving all of my work for the class. And what I just created was this Chapter 2 example file. So I'm going to double click on that. So I have my file here. I want to upload it. So now my file is uploaded. All I have to do is save changes, and I have just finished working on my first Python program. Now what you're doing is not what I just did with the sample text. You're going to need to follow the instructions and do whatever this assignment tells you to do. But the process is what I wanted to show you so that you know how to get Python installed, be able to start Python, create your program, save it, test it, then come back over here and get it uploaded into Moodle for grading. Please do remember that I'm always available to help you, so if you have any questions about what you're doing along the way, you are welcome to stop by my office on campus. I'm out on the Monroe campus. You may call me, you may email me, you may Moodle message me, but please, please, please do start working on your assignments before the day that they are due. If you do that, then you'll have time to get those answers that you need so that you can do well on the assignments. And please do remember also that late work does not earn any credit. So it is important that you start the work early so you have the time to work on it, get any answers that you might need, do it well and get it turned in so that you do earn credit for all your work. And more than anything, so that you have time to really learn and understand what we're working on in this class. That's it for today. Thank you.